Hello, this is Dread from Last Epic Builds, and this is the real intro. In today's video topic, we're going to be talking about my Void Warpath build. Yes, I have brought Warpath back into the limelight again, and this time it's crit and dual wield, just like everybody asked. Everyone was like, hey, can't you make a crit dual wield Warpath build? I'm like, alright, here you go. So the main reason why I started this build was because I saw the new unique chest, Wings of Argentus, and mainly the main thing you need to know about that chest is it gives you 40% reduced damage taken while moving. Now, the thing is with that chest, it's very strong, but it is contesting your chest slot. So for this build specifically, it's actually pretty poor because of dodge. You really want dodge with this kind of build because guess what? Not getting hit is the best form of damage reduction. So obviously you would want to run a dodge chest instead. Now the Wings of Argentus will be very strong for a different build that I'll be making later on, but for this build I will be using dodge because it is objectively better. Now, the way we're doing this is we're utilizing the combination of dual wielding with void damage, right, and void damage on our sigils, while also using the attack speed from dual wielding and all the attack speed I can get from everything, right, to do a very large amount of DPS damage. Now, the numbers will never be very large on this build, as you can tell from the video. They'll never be large, but you got to remember, once you're at 200% increased attack speed, you are hitting 6 times per second. So the numbers are deceivingly small as you're hitting a lot more, and the little crit numbers like to hop up on each other. So this does enough damage to finish the entire game. I went all the way from level 1 to the end of the monolith to empowered monoliths and done some empowered monoliths. So this is definitely very viable for someone who wants to just play the game. I really like the build. It does have its weaknesses though, mainly due to just having to run dodge instead, and the new endurance system kind of makes it a little weird a little bit, but I'll get into that later in gearing. But overall, the build has felt really good, and if you're not really focused on pushing really high arenas, this build will probably be the best version of Warpath for you. It has definitely been one of the most fun versions I've played, and getting a crit Warpath build working in general is kind of a fun idea. And with that being said, that's the end of the intro, and let's get into the skills, shall we? Here we are in-game here with my Void Warpath build. The name is Nighttime Rebel. That is the name of the song that was playing when I named the build. Pretty cool. It's by Powerwolf. Really good band. Would heavily suggest listening to it if you like metal. Now, so overall, we have the build here, and for skills, we have Warpath, Lunge, Volatile Reversal, Anomaly, and Sigils. So we're going to go over Warpath here first. So Warpath, the way you want to play this is in the beginning, when you're leveling, you want to be taking 3 points into Unchained, and then 1 point into Reckless Spin, which will reduce Warpath's cost to 7 mana in the beginning while you're leveling the build. And you want to go with a two-hander while you're leveling because you want to go for the 2 points into Reckless Combatant, then 2 points into Zweihander for the increased area. I know my webcam is in the way, so I will be removing that. There you go. And then now, after that, what I would suggest doing is moving into Iron Reach, 1 point, Whirling Blades, Travel, all the way up to Unchained. And once you reach Unchained, you can actually turn off Reckless Spin. So you do not take the 25% elemental damage taken. Other people have said this node is good. Please do not take this node. It is a noob trap. It is only for leveling. In the monolith, you will be taking a lot of elemental damage, and that's a majority of all the damage you will be taking. It is a complete noob trap to take this node, so please, please do not take it in the end game. Now, if you want to survive anyways, right, then we take 1 point travel into Void Spiral, 3 points into Apocalypse Whirl so that our attacks will time rot. Just so you know, it is not affected by Warpath's 60% ailment application chance, so it's only 18% always. Then we take 4 points into Abyssal Tempest. Now, this is a lot of our damage, where most of our damage comes from, and the fact that we're a Void Knight is the reason why this works so well, as I'll get into later, as Void Knight has other ways of applying time rot. Now we take 3 points into Quicksilver Wind. You can definitely take a point out of this and put it back into Abyssal Tempest, but I like the increased movement speed because if you did not know, if you have 3 points into Quicksilver Wind, that's about the same amount of movement speed. You'll lose a little bit, but it'll be the same as your movement, like your walking movement speed, meaning that whenever you apply movement speed, you're not gaining a decifit, because if you did not know, you get 20% less movement speed while spinning. So that kind of pretty much makes up for that fact. And that's it for Warpath. Now for Lunge here, we take 3 points travel into the fray, 1 point into Double Strike for the double lunge charge. Very strong while leveling and very strong in maps. 3 points into Tactician for cooldown recovery speed and mana efficiency, because having mana efficiency in this build is very strong. 1 point into Initiative, it gives you 40% increased damage after you lunge and 40% increased critical strike chance. Then we take 5 points into Avenger's Charge, which gives us 200% increased critical strike increased critical strike chance. So whenever I lunge on a target, our melee critical strike chance goes through the roof. A very strong node indeed. And 4 points into Forge On, so you gain increased armor and stun avoidance for 2 seconds when you finish attacking with Lunge. This does stack, so if you attack twice in a very quick succession, you will get 2 stacks of it, meaning your armor will be increased by 200%, which is very strong. Then 1 point into Unstoppable, you take no damage while lunging. Very strong for Maruna Ogres and Fire Golems, stuff that can kill you. Very strong for closing the gap so you do not take damage. Now, of course, for the last 2 points, we have 2 points into Blood Rush. These points don't necessarily matter. If you manage to be stacking decks, you could run Brigand instead, but it's just the last 3 points don't really do anything for your build. Now we have Volatile Reversal here. We take 3 points into Time Sap so that we get cooldown on kill, which is very strong. 1 point into Time Loss Vitality to recover our to have our cooldown recovery faster, 3 points into attack speed, 3 points into movement speed, 1 point into Terminal Void Rift so that we can create a Void Rift whenever we reversal, and then we take 3 points into Dark Expanse for area with that Void Rift, and then 3 points into Harbinger of Dust. Enemies hit by your Void Rifts take increased damage for 4 seconds. What that means is whenever you hit something with your Void Rifts here, they will take a 30% more damage multiplier, meaning it will multiply all of your damage by 30%. Insanely strong. Then we take 2 points into Food for the Worms so that we have even more Time Rot chance to make the Time Rot chance damage Abyssal Tempest on our Warpath tree a lot better and a lot more uptime on bosses. And we take 1 point into Incipient Void Rift so that we get 2 of them so that we have better coverage. Now we'll talk about Anomaly. 1 point into Void Touch, 1 point into Immediacy so we don't send things through time, so we can actually kill them. I will admit it's very annoying if you don't take this node, because you'll end up making the boss disappear like that, and you'll have to wait a few seconds to kill him, so I'd heavily suggest running this node. 1 point into Time Bubble. A Time Bubble is this little thing on me. It's very strong because it gives us a lot of buffs. 5 points into Temporal Mastery, so we get the duration of the Time Bubble, so it lasts up to 10 seconds. 1 point into Lingering Memory, so that we get the Time Bubble effect for 2 seconds after we exit, meaning that whenever it ends, we will get it for another 2 seconds, which increases the duration of the Time Bubble to 12 seconds for the buffs. 1 point into Time Lord, so the Time Bubble is cast on us. It does make it cost mana, but it's cast on us, so it's always on us, so we're always getting the buffs. 5 points into Decimation, so it gives us another large amount of crit chance, very strong for this build. 2 points into Manipulation for attack speed, very strong. 2 points into Health Leech, and it's doubled for void damage, and that's most of our damage, so this is pretty much 2% Health Leech. And then 1 point into Void Maw. Now, this patch has introduced a new modifier to gear, plus level to skills. Now, if you were to get plus level to Anomaly, I would heavily suggest putting more points into Void Maw. Very, very strong. So this is increased health leech. This is not increased health leech rate, meaning that it's a multiplier to all of your leech on top of the rate and on top of all of your other leech on it everywhere, right? And we have a lot of leech thanks to the fact we are a Void Knight. And then now we have sigils here. We take 5 points into empowering sigils for the increased damage per sigil. We have 4, so we get 120% increased damage, very strong. 3 points into Decree of Flame, which then gets turned into void damage, so we're gaining about 12 flat void damage from this node, and then we're gaining about 12 flat from the base sigil. So we're gaining 24 flat void, and we're gaining a lot more increased void damage as well per active sigil. We do not get health regen anymore, but that's completely fine. That is very strong for this build. It's one of the things that actually makes the build work, as all this flat is very insanely strong. Then we take 4 points into Iron Sigils for armor per active sigil, 5 points into Enduring Hope for duration so that they last longer so we don't have to keep them up as often, 1 point into Tetragram for another sigil so we go up to 4 max sigils, then 1 point into Last Wish. Last Wish allows us to simply ignore our sigils and just get them on kill, but we can cast our sigils on boss fights, as you can tell here with the reversal trick. So through maps you won't have to cast your Tetragram, you want to cast your sigils, but while on a boss you definitely want to cast your sigils real quick, do a reversal trick, and you'll be back at full mana. Now, now that we're done with the skills, I do want to talk about one little thing about the build. So there is a new relic that has been added. This inscribed relic, this is S tier, best in slot, -3 melee mana attack cost, meaning it reduces our channeled costs of our Warpath, right? Very insanely strong, so that we're at 0 mana Warpath. Whenever we're at 0 mana Warpath, it does not make reversal bug like it used to in the other versions of Warpath I would play, which makes it insanely strong, allowing us to simply hold down Warpath. But you do not want to spend forever in Warpath. You do not want to spend forever in it, because you want to keep your buffs up, you want to keep your lunge up for your crit, and you want to keep your anomaly up. So it's not completely AFK friendly, but it is a very strong Warpath build nonetheless. Now let's talk about the passive tree, shall we? Here we are. We have the Sentinel base tree here. We take 8 points into Juggernaut for fire res and void res so that it caps our res a little bit better. 1 point into Fearless, 5 points into Armor Clad, so we take damage we have less damage taken from nearby enemies. Very insanely strong as Warpath, as that's just pretty much a 10% reduced damage taken from everything we're killing. 10 points into Relentless for increased damage. 1 point into Gladiator for dual wielding. We do take 12% increased damage, just so you know, so you do take a little bit more damage. Then 5 points into Blade Master. If you did not know, if you're dual wielding an axe and a sword, like I am, this will give you 60% increased attack speed. This node might eventually get nerfed so that it only gives you 1 instance of said buff, so you only get 30% increased attack speed. Now, if that day ever comes, that's completely fine, because we have plenty of other places to get attack speed, so even if they nerf this, it would not be that big of an issue. Now for the Paladin tree, we take 5 points into Conviction because we are doing a little bit of fizz damage, 5 points into Valor for Vitality, because for travel, and then 5 points into Flash of Brilliance as well, so we get a little bit of HP, but we're mainly just trying to get up to Sigils of Hope. And then in the Void Knight tree here, this is where it gets juicy. We take 5 points into Temporal Corruption, more flat void for us. 7 points, you want to complete this by the way, Devouring Blade. 10 points into Abyssal Endurance for even more res, which caps our void res, and pretty much almost brings us to cap with Physical Resistance, opening up slots on our gear, which is very strong. 8 points into World Eater, giving us 12% leech of melee damage and void, and since we're doing melee void damage, you get 24%, so it's double dipped, and of course it's increased by anomaly by 50%, and even more if you get more levels of anomaly on your helmet. 4 points into Rot Grip. This is more melee Time Rot chance, very strong, so that we have more uptime of Time Rot because we deal all of our damage against Time Rotted enemies. You're eventually going to want to put more points into Woe later on. That'll be like the last about 10 passives is putting more points into Woe. 4 points into Singular Purpose for 100% increased void damage for 4 points. Very strong. Also as well, it doesn't really matter that we lose block because we're not blocking. And then later on, I believe that's pretty much it. You really don't want to grab Time Legion because it's actually kind of inefficient and it's just better to go for more damage. Although, if they do nerf the attack speed on the base Sentinel class, you might have to go for Time Legion. It does have Time Rot chance, so you can go either for Time Legion or you can go for Woe. Either way, it's just as strong. And that's pretty much it for the passive tree today. And now we have gearing. So for idols, literally this idol right here, this is your best in slot idol. Could have rolled a little bit better on the damage leech, but the melee void damage is absolutely insane for us. We want 4 of these, gives us a lot of damage. This is the main reason why the build works, is because we have a lot of increased damage from our idols. Very strong. And then for our helmet, we just want dodge, res, crit avoidance on the base. Amulet, you want res and crit chance and crit multi. On your weapon, you want melee flat and a raider axe because you want as much flat as possible, so that when we lunge and we anomaly, our crit is all the way up there. Not 100% crit, but there's no point in going to 100% because it kind of just makes it inefficient at one point, right? So you don't need 100% crit Warpath. Now, chill and a frailty are very strong, as that makes it so our enemies deal less damage to us overall through less attack speed and just taking less damage overall. Our sword, we run void, critical strike multi, chill, and dodge. Dodge is very strong this patch, and being able to put dodge on a suffix like I am right here, very, very strong. It changes recently with this patch. For our chests, we want dex, dodge, and dodge. Now for the other prefix on this chest, you want +2 to Warpath skill. And once you get the +2 to Warpath, what you want is, I believe you want 1 point into Abyssal Tempest and then 1 point into Quicksilver Wind so that you're faster, right? You want to be really fast in this build because you want to zoom around, right? So that's pretty much what you want on your chest. As much dodge as possible so that when we pop our potion, we're pretty much close to cap dodge. On our rings, you want res, dodge, and endurance threshold. That's a new thing this patch, is endurance threshold. That's my endurance threshold. You really want more than that, but my gearing was a little sketch because I was playing in SSF and I don't cheat my gear in, so I have to actually grind my gear. On the belt, we have a dodge rating on potion use, endurance, and dodge, very strong. On our ring, more endurance, more crit chance, more endurance percentage. On our gloves, we're running the engraved gauntlets for endurance percentage, more endurance percentage, and then endurance threshold and crit. You could probably put attack speed on that last slot. And then for boots, we just run dodge, dex, movement speed, very strong. Then on our inscribed tablet, we run res, dex, and endurance threshold. For the other prefix on this item, you definitely want some crit multi, as it'll give you more damage. Now, the biggest issue with this, well, the biggest thing is this, is you get this base at level 29. Make sure to pick it up at level 29, as it's very insane for the build and pretty much makes it work. This is the best buff they've ever done for Warpath, giving you another way of subtracting mana cost that isn't like channel cost and flawed like channel cost is. So this is very, very insane for our build. So I'd heavily suggest picking up one. That's pretty much it for the gearing this time. We will be talking about blessings this time around because there's a very important blessing for this build. So there is one right here. It is called Depths of Infinity. You definitely want the empowered version. But so you get chance to shred void resistance on hit. This did not exist last patch at all. Like, this whole idea and concept did not exist. So this is just another 100% more damage for your build, especially for builds that hit a lot like Warpath does. And just to tease you guys, to show you what the damage looks like right now, we're getting like about, second here, I'm gonna wait for my thing, about like 16k per hit, but it's like attacking like almost 6 times per second. But we are missing the last node in Abyssal Tempest, and if you really want to just do damage and you don't care about your movement speed, you can always take 3 points out of Quicksilver Wind and try to go for a lot of Draining Assault points. So what you do is you take 2 points into Draining Assault, and then 2 extra points into Unchained. because of the Helm mod, and then take 1 point and do Abyssal Tempest. So if you get the chest, right, for the +2 levels, that'd be insanely strong for this build. And that's pretty much it for the gearing. That's it for the build. Sorry for the weird circumstances that this build was placed under, but we're getting back to normal schedule now. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your evening, and bye!